Hello there. Welcome in. Please have a seat. I see that you're dressed for the occasion, but I'm not quite ready for you yet. Will you wait just a moment? Wonderful. Now you're a bit early, aren't you? Oh, it's no biggie at all. We'd rather you be early than, than on time or even late. That's really unfortunate. These sort of things are very difficult. So, okay, well, all right. I've got you signed in here. Can you remind me who you are? I've seen so many people today. Yes, okay. Ah, yes, I see you right here. So you're interviewing for the, B polycule. Is that correct? Yes, the letter B, not a B polycule, but just the letter B polycule. Yeah, we have to categorize them here within our system. Yes, this is of course a organization. We help polycules find additional members in case they, are looking to expand in some capacity. We started a very long time ago. But we've really gained traction and popularity, especially as, dating apps have gotten a bit more difficult to use, and they're being filled with AI, and so it's really one of those things where we didn't really expect this, but we have a very lovely polycule for you if you are willing to interview for them. Absolutely. All right. So we'll go over some of the basics for you, of course. Figure out, if you fit all of the proper sort of categorizations that they are looking for. Then we're, of course, going to talk about the polycule itself. What does that entail? What does it mean to be within this polycule? What responsibilities you might have? And, of course, we're going to go through an attractiveness test. I'm just going to do a once-over and make sure that you meet the qualifications that they've set forth for me. And then I'm going to have 3 questions at the end that act as a bit of a gut test to see if you fit within this polycule or not, all right? Absolutely, yes. So let's start with the basics. So you gave me your first name, but can you give me your full name, please? Oh, I should mention, there is absolutely a correct answer for every single one of these questions, even the basics information. Polycules are very finicky. They tend to have a lot of opinions because there's a lot of people in them. So what I will say is that for names, you do not want to have Michael, Sarah, or Scarlett, Joe, or Hanson as a first name, because they all exist within the polycule and they'd rather not date someone that has a similar name. So just making sure you have that. So can you tell me your name again? Wonderful, yes. So you are good in that regard. Can I get your age? Now, of course, there is a correct age here. You cannot be underage here. They're also not looking for someone who is in the older side. Older is really relative to them. Some of them are in their 30s, some are in their 20s. There's a few that are in their 40s, I'll say. But they all have one thing in common, is that they're all very ageist, right? So they're looking for someone who hasn't started to wrinkle yet. It's really just their preference, and then it's something I can do about that. So can you tell me your age? Absolutely. Okay. And now, can you tell me your occupation? Now, they prefer if you had an occupation that paid a lot of money in some capacity, but they'll take someone who has a lot of passion. The immediate no's are going to be starving artists. They're going to immediately say no to doctors. They don't think doctors have the time, nor do they have the emotional capacity to be within this polycule. And they also made a specific mention that they would rather not have any baristas. Apparently, they're very they have a lot of anger towards baristas. I'm not really sure why, but okay. And in terms of basics, can you tell me what your favorite game is? Could be a board game, could be a video game. This is, and remember, there is a correct answer, or rather, a incorrect answer. Perfect. You do not fall into the trap. No, if you said Monopoly, it would have been totally fine. Lots of people have a lot of hatred towards Monopoly, but not this polycule. This polycule actually enjoys Monopoly. No. Okay. So, can you tell me, are you familiar with Dungeons and Dragons? Well, if you're not familiar, this might be a bit of an uphill battle for you, but it's not an immediate out, right? So in terms of classes within Dungeons and Dragons, so barbarian, cleric, bard, what class would you identify yourself as? This is mainly so that they can figure out what classification to put you within the Polycule. That way, you first start to meet people that are within the same classification or mesh well with your classification, right? So if you're a cleric, you'd meet the druids and the other faithfuls, right? Whereas if you categorize yourself as a barbarian, you might meet like fighters, right? Or you might meet your opposites, right? You might meet a wizard. Sorcerers and wizards, of course, stay very far away from each other, but that's neither here nor there. So what class would you say? Wonderful. We've got quite a few people that would be lovely to meet for you. And could you tell me your jealousy level? Now, everyone knows in a Polycule, communication is absolutely important, especially if someone is experiencing any levels of jealousy. Having that communication is tantamount to the structure really staying firm. So just being honest with yourself and figuring out how much jealousy you have, just in general, innately, and then we're able to sort of work around that, and it's just something for them to keep in mind. Now, if you score any, if just from 1 to 10, if 1 is you are not jealous at all, 10 is you are jealous generally most of the time, very frequently. If anything above a 2 will of course get you axed, so just keep that in mind. Okay, wonderful. Now, the last thing in terms of the basics that I'm going to need from you is, can you tell me how many years of therapy have you been having? Oh, of course, therapy is incredibly important, and you need to be in individual therapy. Now, of course, once you join the Polycule, that's going to change a bit. You're going to have individualized therapy. You're going to also have the Polycule therapist that is the therapist that's also within the Polycule themselves. They're going to also take you under their wing. You'll also have couples therapy with each member of the Polycule, so you're going to really have a lot of time. It's think of it as a course, right? So as a university course, it's that tends to be a very big chunk of your week every week. Okay, all right. So how many years? Yes. Okay, so no red flags so far. From what I can see for Polycule B. So let's move on then to the info of the Polycule. How are you feeling, by the way? Would you like some water or anything? You look a bit parched. No, you're fine? Okay. Well, in terms of the info on the Polycule, I must say Polycule B is one of the top Polycules in the country. When I heard this Polycule, and of course I can't tell you the name of the Polycule, I can't tell you anything about the Polycule that would identify them specifically, but I will say that you will not be disappointed by being in this Polycule. There is some bangers within the Polycule. There are some duds as well, but there are some real bangers. I'll also say they have really great HR. There is a lot of communication, and they have their dedicated HR person that is able to work with everybody within the Polycule, make sure that everybody is working within the interests of the Polycule. All right, perfect. And something to keep in mind as well here, the Polycule is going to have a shared calendar. Yes, everyone's going to have the same schedule. What's going to end up happening is everybody needs to know what everybody is doing, right? This is part of the jealousy management. And so what ends up happening is you'll have a shared calendar. Your personal calendar will be gone, killed, and then you'll also be tracked with either Find My Friends or other third-party apps. They don't particularly like using Apple or Android or anything like that because of the privacy and information and stuff. So it's just something to keep in mind as well, right? So they want to make sure everybody has their own private lives, and they have their privacy is well respected. So they're going to make sure that everybody has a shared calendar away from away from the big companies, and instead with them. And of course, they are incredibly eco-friendly. They recycle everything. They do not turn on the air unless absolutely necessary. Of course, they all all the houses that the people in the polycule live in, because if the polycule is big enough that you can't live in one house, right? I mean, you could, I suppose, but it would be a really big mansion. It would draw a lot of attention, and they don't really want that. But all the houses are powered by solar. It's actually very impressive, right? And, they are very big on waste management, right? So they really don't want, water to go to waste. So they end up, fertilizing their own feces so that they don't use toilets or anything like that. Instead, everybody's going to take turns shoveling the group feces so that they can then fertilize it within the community garden. And of course, everybody is going to be on equal footing. There is no leader within this polycule. Everybody gets a say. It is a romantic democracy, if you will. So, and of course, this is something just to keep in mind as well. You must find everybody attractive in some capacity. There is no favoritism that exists within this polycule. So it's just something to keep in mind. You must have some attraction towards many of the genders, because it's a very diverse group of people within this polycule. Okay, so far so good? Okay, wonderful. Next, let's talk about your attractiveness. So, looking at you, I don't think that you are necessarily ugly, but you're not necessarily attractive. You're sort of ambiguous, right? So we're going to have to do this 4-step check process, and just to ensure that you are up to specifications. So first I'm going to check your skin and hair. All right, so if you don't mind, I'm going to get a bit close to you, and you're going to get to know me a bit more throughout this process. And it's totally fine. Everything is within laws. The laws of the land. We are totally within regulation. So let me just go ahead here and check your skin here. I just want to make sure that I'm not seeing too many pores, because if I do see a lot of pores, it means that you're not necessarily looking at, you're not doing a lot of skincare is what they're worried about. But I actually see you have some skincare. You're naturally don't have a lot of pores. That's really wonderful. You have a nice nose. Your eyebrows are particularly... Yeah, your eyebrows are particularly good. You've got some sturdy eyes. That's wonderful as well. And then your mouth. Your mouth is actually very... it's workable. It's nothing too crazy. Now, of course, I do notice there is some blemishes, some sunspots, and that tells me perhaps you don't use a lot of sunscreen. That is okay. But you have to keep in mind they make their own sunscreen within the polycule, so you are going to have to get into the habit of using it. Now, the polycule is filled with a lot of different kinds of people, but the person that makes the sunscreen is of a lighter complexion, so you might get a white cast, mainly because they are not really thinking about it. So it might be unfortunate for certain members of the polycule. So it's just something to keep in mind. Now, your hairline looks good, but I do want to look at your hair itself. Now, you have a very, very interesting hairstyle is very wonderful, but I do notice that you haven't quite styled it in the way that is most attractive to this polycule. Is that on purpose? Are you trying to identify yourself as someone who is a rebel within the polycule community? No, okay, so I think that this is totally workable. I don't think it's really that bad. Okay. So let's just a few notes. The polycule will look over my notes here, make sure that everything is okay. Okay, so let us discuss your nails next. So give me your hands, please. Oh, I'm not checking if you have any nail polish or anything like that. I mean, you could, and you can do your nails just fine. But I'm merely checking here, and I'm just seeing if you are a nail or cuticle biter. Yes, no, they really don't like that. No. Okay, I'm not seeing any real signs, and if there are, I'm going to look away and not notice them. Okay. Okay, wonderful. Yes, they don't really like nail biting. It's one of their quirks, really. I don't really know why, but that is something that they have mentioned. I think somebody in the Polycule probably has some form of phobia or something, and so they don't really want to deal with it. Of course, they have talked about it in all the different therapies, but they still haven't gotten over it. Okay, so if you would take off your jacket, take off your the straps and the coat and everything. I would like to look at your body. I'm licensed. This is totally within regulation, but I just want to make sure that you are within fitness levels. I'm doing a body check here to ensure that all the specifications of your body end up being within the Polycule's regulations. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So, go ahead. Okay. Okay. Not bad. Not good, but not bad. I think that it might take a little convincing, but nothing too. It's honestly, it's really not that bad. No. Please don't feel bad. No. You misunderstand. They are, I don't want to gossip or anything, but the Polycule tends to be a bit unrealistic with their expectations. They sort of watch a lot of movies, they watch a lot of TV shows, they see the people on screen, and they're like, everybody in our Polycule should look like that. And they really need to get a little bit of a reality check, especially because the people in the Polycule also do not look like that. So it's really, I think that you have a wonderful body, a beautiful body, but they might find it, it might not meet their unrealistic expectations. And with that, of course, I will have to do a whole check. What's that? Yes, a whole check. So I'd like to check your hole. In a Polycule, there is a lot of people, so there's going to be a lot of people coming in and out of that. So I'm going to need to ensure that it's, again, within specifications. They have very specific details that they would like within this hole. So just whatever hole you've got, whatever you want to show me, whichever one, I'm happy to take a look. I mean, if you don't want to, that's totally fine. But it is going to be a big. It's going to really hurt your chances. Okay, so I'll just take a quick peek. Yes, you can go ahead. Okay, all right. No worries. Okay. That is the attractiveness test. I think that you are, you don't necessarily pass with flying colours, but I really don't think that you are as ugly as you portray yourself. So I think that you have a lot of potential, I'll be honest. Okay, so the last thing here is I just have some 3 questions for you. This is the gut check, if you remember, just to ensure. So I need you to respond to these questions fairly quickly, just to ensure that you know what I'm talking about. Okay, so and this is, I did not supply these questions, they supplied these questions, so just keep that in mind. So number 1, do you wear wigs? Number 2, do you like wearing wigs? Number 3, when will you wear wigs? Wonderful. Great. Wonderful. Okay, so with that, I have all of your information here and all of my notes. I'll send that over to the Polycule, and they will, take a look at it, compare you with other candidates. Yes, they did ask for me to take pictures of the hole. I did refuse that, but I think that my notes should be generally enough for them to compare and contrast with other people's. Yes, I know, I've seen a lot of them, and I will say yours was a delight. Okay, well, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will get back to you. I'll send you an email if you make it to the next round of interviewing. Okay then. Well, have a good one. Bye-bye.